Going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for April 4th, 2017. Our first item of business will be special recognition from our mayor at this time.
We have an Employee of the Month recognition. If you would join me down front, we'll just congratulate someone. Brent Bush, you want to come and join us too? Come on. Brent Bush was nominated for Employee of the Month for being proficient in carrying out his duties and leading his crew on their daily tasks. Brent works well with other departments to accomplish a wide variety of city's obligations and work orders. He is a very kind and caring person, well-mannered young man. Starting in PublicWorks as a mechanic. That's the reason I say that, because he's been several places here already. Brent later moved to environmental control as a mechanic and has also held a mechanic position in the water distribution department. Brent currently serves as environmental control maintenance leader 1 and enjoys working with his guys and running equipment. In his spare time, Brent likes to hunt and to fish and be outdoors. He also likes to spend time with his family on the back deck, just barbecuing, grilling, talking, and laughing and having fun. Congratulations on being named the 2017 Employee of the Month, Brent Bush. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your service with the city of Muskogee, and we're going to shake your hand around if you would do that, and then I'll hand this to you, okay? You're cooking what? Hard-boiled eggs.
Just the eggs on the smoker and they're hard boiled.
You're
It
kidding.
tastes like smoke.
I'm thinking baby back ribs to go with them. You're welcome to make a comment or two if you'd like. Okay. Now, is your father was with the city of Muskogee as well? Is that true? 35 years as a firefighter. Yeah, great.
My stepmom
Yes.
with the city for a little while too.
Yeah. Well, super. Brent, here is your recognition for Employee of the Month, and we're excited for you and appreciate you.
You guys started at 3:59.
Not by that clock.
Well, that clock's wrong.
It's the official clock.
Oh.
Back to the Finance Committee agenda at this time. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of March 21st, 2017.
After review of the minutes, are there any corrections or additions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van. Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 1 passed. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments March 16, 2017 through March 28, 2017.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
Yes, sir. We met with the purchasing committee earlier today and reviewed the report of claims, and I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Hale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 2 passed. Item number 3, please.
Receive report from the Martin Luther King Center Trust Authority as to financial condition, project status, and progress towards achieving goals and objectives, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Kim Lynch is here from Neighbors Building Neighborhoods, who helps us oversee the King Center and helps us with the Trust Authority, and so I defer to her as she makes the presentation. You have a copy of it before you, and I
See
believe
the slide first.
we do have,
It's not here.
oh, it's not? Okay, well, we do have, the committee members have a paper presentation that they may look at.
Yeah, I put one at everybody's desk, and thank you very much. Kind of a challenge to do from pictures and photos, but the most important thing is that we are, as Marlon would say, pretty doggone wonderful. If you notice, it's now just barely a year old, and if you look at and going through, I would tell you about the pictures, and you could all see how wonderful it is. But from April of 2016 to February 2017, we've had 35 groups from clubs and organizations, 29 groups from the city, county, and state, 6 businesses groups, 8 churches, 46 family affairs, totaling 124 groups, which is an approximate attendance of 7,320. And this excludes any citywide functions, and examples can be like the Martin Luther King, the holiday weekend, or elections. We have elections there and that kind of thing. The following page talks
Does
about
that include the students?
no, that
After-school
does not
program
include
students?
any of the programs.
You got about 7,000 students, don't you?
As Derek can help us, it's about 140 a day. So 5 days a
180
week,
some days.
42 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
So if you look at our financials, you can see from 7/1 to the current. So far, we've received $30,000 from city funds that were budgeted $65,000. Fundraising is $650. Public support is $1,441. Rental revenues are $35,600. So the total income is $67,760. Expenses are the management fees of $8,000. Facilities and equipment are $12,179. Operations are $38,000. And other expenses about $1,200. So the total expenses are just under $60,000. As of right now, a gain of $7,905. Not bad for a year. Well, some of our capital needs are the next page, and I'll answer any questions if you have questions regarding any of this. Some current capital needs that we have after being here a year are prep tables in the kitchen. There's not enough preparation area, or another double sink or a triple sink in the kitchen. Signage on the basketball courts. It's not a park, but we need to sign the basketball court to being closed at a certain time because we have individuals that are using the basketball court after hours. Security fencing on the north perimeter and maybe on the west perimeter. You know, we run 300 kids to 250 kids. I'm looking at Derek. 250 to 300 kids on Fridays and Saturday nights during night hoops. That might be a security issue to discuss. Playground equipment, which hopefully we'll be able to pay real quick. Future is signage on the west side of the building. I think it was month 2 or 3 when the mayor said, you know, we don't have anything that tells us that it's the Martin Luther King Community Center coming from the west side down. It's very, you know, going east side, you can see it right away. Blinds in the library and the public classroom. If you're trying to hold a meeting there, you cannot see the smart boards. We need to have some sort of blinds. And then additional parking, if you've had any facility there, anybody over 50, you know, there's 51 parking spots. So if you have 52 people.
If you exclude the parking, what is your financial need?
I'm sorry?
The financial need if you exclude the parking?
I haven't budgeted that.
Yeah,
We can certainly.
we can address some of these through the budgeting process as we move forward, I think.
There's really nothing that's terribly expensive that'll work through that. And then the back page, it's not your back page. My next page would be the rate chart, just to remind you of what our current rates are. We did a little bump with the trust in the public classrooms. We felt we were giving it away, and so this is still a bargain. So if you look at that. And then most importantly, I need to talk about the Trust Authority Board. You know, that's who I serve for from the Neighbors Building Neighborhoods. David Ragsdale's the chair, and Perlene is here, Perlene Boyardi, Randy Howard, Wayne Johnson, Kenny Payne, Mike Miller, Roy Tucker, and then my cohort is Derek Reed, who serves as the program manager. I have two, and he is paid through the Martin Luther King programs, not the Trust Authority. I have staff there that are Kamega LaFall, who's the reservationist and receptionist, and Rocky Jones and Kara Wallace are the event staff. quick and dirty, pretty wonderful, pretty clean, still looks just as good as ever.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
On the financial sheet, we show 7/1 to current. Is on the budget side, is that
Year end, year to date.
for a whole year?
Yes.
So we projected that we might have income of 100, and it looks like year to date we've got income of about 70.
Yes, that's correct.
So it looks
If-
like you might.
We should succeed that. We should be very, very close in budgeting.
But it looks like you've done a good job
Well,
on the budget on where you're going to end up and where you thought you might be.
Yeah, very
I
much
think-
so. I think to address,
Which for a brand new facility,
you can see that their rental income or their rental revenue is, they've already reached their goal for the year. So,
and part of that, I hate to not, it's really good on income, but because of having Martin Luther King programs and the increase there, of that 35, about 30,000 of that is from the Martin Luther King programs that are happening themselves. So if we look at that going forward, it's probably another 20,000 that'll happen through till July 1. So we will probably, knock on wood, not have to request all of the 35,000, but you can't have that. The trust still needs that. But there's about $35,000 still that's in the city funds that we've not requested because we're doing it as reimbursable, not as a check front forward.
well, fantastic. I think that's just a wonderful facility, and I think it's a little crown jewel for Muskogee myself. It's a wonderful place, and the children it serves every day, and the nice events that are held there.
We have wonderful ravings, wonderful,
Nice.
wonderful facility and ravings every day, and people are coming. And Derek, please help add, there is somebody there every day that's from another community that wants to use that facility. It's just an amazing little building.
You're not giving up secret information, are you, Derek?
City of Muskogee Foundation.
Would we be a good idea for us to send the Ambler Architects a thank you letter just stating that the programming needs were met and it's working better than anticipated, and the level of expectation was pretty high to start with, so
I'm sure they would be nice. Because of the
It
gala happening on
functions.
the 22nd,
really well.
it does.
Yeah.
And they have already purchased a table, even though they cannot be in attendance. So they are committed to the facility, and they're committed to Muskogee as well, so.
Have you found that y'all have pulled more people from what used to go to the Civic Center to y'all?
Probably.
Probably. I was just-
I don't know the figures. Derek would probably be the best one to do that.
I was just curious about how much that's going from that would been going to the Civic Center is now going there.
I don't think so. I think that if you look at the numbers of family occasions, they wouldn't be holding a birthday party at the Civic Center. It's truly a community center. So when you have 100 people that are attending a function for a birthday party, they're going to rent the 2 public classrooms, correct me, and they're going to be there for the 2 hours or the 3 hours and leave. They wouldn't do that at the Civic Center.
Okay.
There's just not that same, it's a whole different animal.
Now that's because there was a rumor that that the Martin Luther King Center was pulling a lot of the people that used to be at the Civic Center now going away because of rates and stuff. And I was just kind of curious to see if you had that kind of a number, if that was actually happening or if that was just someone's making up stuff.
I think the only thing that we might be pulling are the city functions, the fire department, the police department, where it needs large group, small, trainings and things like that would be happening
Okay.
at the, but that's.
But it's a
and
wonderful facility, and y'all are doing a great job with it, and I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of y'all. And hopefully y'all get a lot more business over there. Thank you.
We don't need lots more business. Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's full at all times. Anything
Derek
else
was
I can
about to
answer?
say calf rope there at one time. He was there every weekend.
I'm so proud, one, serving on the trust board, but, when you look at this facility and you look at what, our community envisioned, there were some things that we wanted to be cautious about on this facility. One, we didn't want to build another facility that was a drain on our community financially. And here we are a year into it, and it's definitely not a drain on our facility, it's an asset. And when you look at the income that it brings back into our community and how it's serving as a need, really, we look now and we go, if it was only just a little bit bigger, wow, what a challenge, what a problem to look at right now. And Derek's going, I'm glad it's not any bigger, because it's, you know, it's meeting our need. The other vision that we had was we really want it to be a community center. And if you drive by at any time and you walk in, it is truly a community center. It's used at all different times, all different ways by everybody, and it really does meet this city's needs. We've had all different directions it's meeting there. At our last trust board meeting, the one thing that I ask is, you know, we've changed the rate structures on some of the rooms, and I'd asked Derek, what complaints have you had with that rate structure change? And he had none. It was just that transitional period on those that had rented it at one rate structure, and then when we had changed it, holding it during that time period. That says something about the level of quality that is being offered there. The other thing was, I had asked the trust board members what complaints had they heard in the community about the center, and it's not none. And it's something about the community, a lot of times we focus in on the negative. You don't hear that about the Martin Luther King Community Center. It really does focus in on the positive in this community, because it really does elevate what's positively going on in our community. And I'm just so proud of what has been accomplished, and I appreciate the city council for supporting this facility, and I so much appreciate the community and the foundation for supporting this and for the leadership that we have there.
Kim, I'd like to say that one of the things I think you guys have as a strong feather in your cap is the fact that we have a facility whose primary goal serves an underrepresented part of the community who in many ways is unable to support themselves in a lot of areas. And for Neighbors Building Neighborhoods to run a facility that does that and still maintain a high level of profitability, I think that speaks volumes to the fact that communities can still reach out to those who can't help themselves, but still serve a greater need by serving the community, by not being a financial drain, and offering so much to so many other people besides that targeted group. And so I think that's a strong testimony to the type of people that we have in Muskogee, as well as to your leadership from Neighbors Building Neighborhoods, that we can help people help ourselves and still maintain a profit margin that looks really, really good. So I certainly salute you guys for everything that you do.
Any other questions or comments? We got all night. Thank you, Ms. Lynch.
You're all right with everybody bragging on it, aren't you?
All right, well, we got all night. No action needed on that item, so we'll go on to item number 4.
Consider awarding the mowing contract base bids number 1 and base bid number 2 and base bid number 5 to Grass Monkey and base bid number 3 and base bid number 4 to SB Services for the drainage easement maintenance contracts, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, this is an annual bid that we put before you, of course, annually, every year. And this is to basically take care of some drainage structures inside the city that we used to do with inmate labor that we lost several years back. We tried to do it with our own forces and weren't able to keep it up. So several years back, this has been going on 7 or 8 years, we decided to put this out to contractual services, and we're paying for this out of our stormwater account. So this isn't a budgeted item. It's budgeted through the stormwater funds. We put back approximately $60,000 to $70,000. This contract is going to run us somewhere around $11,000 a month, depending on how often you have to mow. And the difficulty in budgeting this is you really don't know how often you have to mow. So these lots are bid as individual lots. The way that it breaks down, base bid number 1 is for 21 individual parcels. And a couple examples of those parcels are the AR Street storm drain, and that's the storm drain that runs from Mountain Place to Hancock. And that's the one that has the little small concrete trickle channel in the bottom of it, but the side slopes have to be mowed, and they have to be taken care of basically by intensive manual labor, because there's places where it's just very difficult to get tractors into, and that's one of the reasons why the city has a hard time doing it, because back when we did do it, we used inmate labor to do that. So, but there's 21 individual lots or parcels that are in base bid number 1. Again, one of them was the AR Street storm drain. One of them, for example, is the Bill Pool drainage easement. That's the drain ditch that goes through Bill Pool Park. Another one is the Albertsons drainage easement, and that's the drainage ditch that runs on the east side of Albertsons. That's another example of what is in bid lot number 1. Base bid number 2 is for the 2 detention ponds that we built in the last several years. One of them is the Chandler Road Detention Basin. That's over behind the McDonald's on the east side of town on Chandler Street. And the other one is the Elliott Street Detention Basin. Base bid number 3, and I don't know if you remember this, but last year we added Shawnee Bypass to the areas where our 15-foot brush hogs mow because we didn't feel like we were doing an adequate job of getting the small things cut out there. The little drainage ditches that are beside the intersections, some of the areas where the storm drains are, around some of the guardrails and poles, and that's what this item is for. Base bid number 4 is the same thing along Muskogee Turnpike. As you may be aware, we have to mow the turnpike, and there's drainage areas out in there that we can't get our 15-footers in that have to have manual labor to get down in them, and that's what the bid number 4 is. Base bid number 5 is actually not paid for out of the storm drain account. It's actually paid from a different fund for the batfish. But we put that in this package because last year we were asked to keep that inclusive so that we could get a better bid by getting these together. What you have before you is 2 bid awards that we're wanting to recommend. One is to Grass Monkey. This is their 3rd year that they would be mowing for us if you approve. So the previous 2 years they did do this. We had no issue with them. And the other one is for S&B Services. They mowed last year some of these areas, and we were very content with their bid, and we're recommending approval for them also. Again, this is labor intensive. That's what it's about. It's about getting crews out there with weed eaters and doing a lot of manual labor to cut these structures. Jason Green is here if you have some specifics about the project, but again, this is budgeted through stormwater account except for the batfish, and it comes from a different fund. It is a very small increase from last year, approximately $300 to $400 per month over. It is budgeted. We do have the money. We recommend approval, and we'll answer any questions, and if you want to get specific about the areas, Jason's here to help.
M Street drainage ditch is not included in this, correct?
The M Street,
Yeah,
and where would that be, Ivory?
going down through Robinson Park, the drainage ditch.
Robinson Park is on this contract, yes.
Okay, now does it start right there at Augusta all the way? At one time, we had that conservation problem.
Jason, can you help me with the specifics?
Yes. Last year, we had it halfway, but we added it the full length this year. So it goes from Augusta all the way to the barbed wire fence.
Okay. I noticed we just now started cleaning out that drainage ditch, and we started putting rock on the side. You think we need to take those rocks off the side and get rid of them just because we're going to try to finish the rest of it? Is those rocks going to hurt the mowing crew for weed eating? Because they have to do it all by hand.
No, they're just going to weed eat around the rocks.
And we can still look at the rock removal,
still
but
look at
that
the
wouldn't be
rock.
part of this contract.
Okay. All right. I'll turn
Move
the
for
floor back over to
approval.
you. I'm sorry.
And glad to go down there with you, Ivory, and look at that. So.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we approve this item. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Item number 4 passed, and that was our final item for the Finance Committee.
We'll now call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of March 21st, 2017.
Any additions or changes?
Move the approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 2.
Hold a public hearing and consider the approval of an ordinance annexing into the city limits property located at 2005 Old Shawnee Road, more particularly described in the ordinance, and authorize staff to revise the official map of the city to reflect said change and declaring an emergency.
We are now in the public hearing. Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant Trickle-Down Addition is requesting approval to annex 1.21 acres into the city limits of the city of Muskogee. The property is located at 2005 Old Shawnee Road. Currently, there's a large island within the city. It's an industrial park, and they're building on a portion of that industrial park. They're developing it commercially. Pinnacle Telecom is proposing to locate a facility on the property. Now, Water Policy 8-1, which was adopted by the City Council several years ago, states that if a property is outside the city limits prior to connecting to city services, water or sewer, that they shall annex. So therefore, they are requesting to annex to connect to the water and to also for the city to provide them other services, fire, police protection, etc. This request has been reviewed and recommended for approval by both staff and Planning Commission. Glad to answer any questions.
We had no one sign up to speak to this issue, so we're going to close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of a preliminary and final plat of Trickle-Down Addition consisting of one lot on 1.21 acres located at 2005 Old Shawnee Road, or take any other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, this is the same piece of property we just talked about as far as annexing into the city limits. This is for the preliminary and final plat, Trickle-Down Addition, one lot on 1.21 acres. Again, located at 2005 Old Shawnee Road. Pinnacle Telecom is developing the property, and this has been reviewed and recommended for approval by staff, Subdivision Review Committee, and Planning Commission. Again, be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gary.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
The motion carries. Item number 4.
Consider approval of resolutions declaring 3 parcels of property, more particularly described in the resolution, as surplus to the needs of the city, and authorize the conveyance of said properties or take other necessary action.
It's the Mr. Gary Garvin show.
We are requesting approval to declare 3 pieces of property parcels as surplus to the needs of the city of Muskogee and authorize the conveyance of those properties. Those 3 parcels are located at 912, 914, and 916 Louisiana Street. The properties were posted in accordance with the resolution adopted by the city. Went out for bids. We only received 1 bid per parcel. That was from Summer Carrier in the amount of $433 per parcel. So we are recommending approval. Be glad to answer any questions.
Move for approval. These are 3 wonderful lots, great for building on. I'm glad this guy picked them up, and he's going to do a great job, I promise you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kell.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 3-6-2, drug testing policy, or take other necessary action.
Kelly.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Our current drug testing policy that we have for non-uniformed employees is pretty restrictive. It currently requires all employees to go for a drug screen if they need medical attention or if they've had an accident or injury that has caused significant damage. Excuse me. I am proposing a revised policy for our non-uniformed employees effective May the 1st to allow for more discretion by me to say if an employee needs to go for a drug screen or not based on their illness or injury or accident. So this could be an employee goes, they get stung by a bee, they have to go for medical treatment. I would say in that instance that employee would not need a drug screen because most of the time that bee sting is not caused by them. Same thing if an employee hits an animal driving down the road, if it causes significant damage to their vehicle, they need to go for a drug screen now. The revised policy provision would allow for me to make that discretion. Well, were they just driving down the road and then did that animal come and jump out in front of them, or did they drive off the road and then hit the animal? So it allows for acts of nature and things that the employee would have no control of for me to make that discretion. Again, effective May the 1st. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
The only question or concern I have is, would that policy open us up for any potential lawsuits on that we're not treating everyone fairly?
No, in fact, Committee Member Kale, this is done in conformance with the recommended OSHA modifications that I think the rule was passed. Was it last year?
Yes, November of last year, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's their rule is that it is reasonably related to the potential impairment of the employee. One of the examples that they gave me at a conference that I went to was if somebody was exposed to carbon monoxide and they had to go for treatment. Well, it's not the employee's fault that the building had filled with carbon monoxide. And under that OSHA rule, they would allow that employee to not have to be tested for that reason.
So the short answer is, so long as we don't use discriminatory animus for selecting an employee for drug testing, then there's no issue with potential liability.
Okay, that's...
And my concern with this whole thing is the way it's set up now. Kelly goes, you got to take the drug test because it's policy. Now it's going to be, oh, Kelly, please don't make me take this drug test, or why do I have to take this drug test? And now it's putting her in a situation where she's trying to be objective in how she does this. Does she really want that headache? I mean, do you really want to do that headache? And then if you're not here in this job, what about the next person? Do they really want to do that? I mean, that was my kind of process looking it over, is right now it's set in stone. This is what happens when it happens, and you get a drug test, you get a drug test. Who cares? If you're negative, you're negative. You're positive, you're positive. But now there's going to be some leadway here, and I've never been a fan of a lot of leadway where it's not over everything. So that was my only the problem with the whole thing, is that I don't want you to have the headache of going.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but
I get called on almost every test now because I'm the only person, and along with Dakota now, that can make the discretionary call if it's a significant injury or illness, illness or accident. So if somebody gets into a vehicle accident, let's say they scratch their back bumper, they call me regardless and say, does this employee need to go for a drug screen? So it's pretty much the same process. I would just have more discretion as to whether they need to go because it's their fault or it was an act of nature.
I think it's a pragmatic look and change. How we can address your issue is, Mr. Attorney, say, oh, and if you say, please don't give me a drug test, it's automatic drug test.
Yes.
100%.
I think the idea is that if somebody gets poison ivy on the job, we don't want to have them sit for. We'd rather have them being treated and getting back to work than having to do a drug test.
Hey, they could have had too much to drink and passed out in the poison ivy. Now, come on, no.
And right now our policy is that they'd have to get a drug test, and so.
And drug tests are expensive, as I understand it.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's no reason to spend that money if we don't need to.
So we're losing staff time and paying extra money, and I do agree that the default is yes, you need a drug test, and then if we say. If there's an extenuating circumstance such as we've mentioned.
But in car wrecks and stuff where there's a property damage, we are going to do drug testing, or will you still have the same?
It would be the same discretion if it was an act of nature. So an act of nature would be an animal or a tree branch falling on an employee's car because the tree had fallen during a storm.
I was talking
but a
more
regular vehicle accident, no, it would be the same standard as it is now, significant.
Okay.
Now, if the employee, let me add to that, if the employee was not parked in their vehicle and somebody else hit them, if they were legally parked in this situation, they would not be sent for a drug screen because it was no fault of theirs.
So basically, if it's some type of reckless endangerment, certainly you'd recommend that they had that, but just the routine line of work, it would be, okay. Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Band.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Copeland.
Yes.
Thank you.
And motion carries. Item number 6.
Consider approval of final payment to Warfeather LLC in the amount of $54,321 for Public Works metal building or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, this is the Public Works building that we put up down at our material yard that was very much needed. This is the one that we bid several times, and David Garner and Jim Wixom worked diligently on this to get it, put it together. Warfeather, which is Adam Oglesby, he's the same contractor that put our gateways up as the contractor that put this building up. We did go down and do a walkthrough. We absolutely could find no fault with the building. We were very, very pleased. Mr. Oglesby from Warfeather is one of the better contractors in the area, and we love working with him. He develops his own punch lists and has it completed before he even calls us to come down and go through the building. So very, very impressed with his work and would love to work with him again in the future. This was a $54,321 payment that we owe him. That's the amount the building cost. And this is paid for out of capital improvements. It was budgeted. David Garner's here if you have any questions specific to the project, but we recommend approval.
Thank you, Mike.
Move the approval.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Oh, excuse me. Roll call.
Deputy Mayor James Scully.
Yes.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Band.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Copeland.
Yes.
The motion carries. Mr. Johnson, I have one citizen who's wishing to speak to us.
Yeah, 1505 North 16th, Wayne Johnson.
Where that-
Uh,
wondered
I just want to, I'd like to
Figure out
say
what
I
that is.
appreciate working for an employer. I work for Muskogee Public Schools, and I appreciate working for an employer that allows me the flexibility to do a lot of city business and be able to take vacation time. But last Friday, I was able to take off a day vacation and go to a meeting, Strong Towns, and I provided a packet to each one of the city councilmen on Strong Towns. I'd never heard of Strong Towns. And Doug Walton had invited me and some others to be able to go to this, and I do appreciate being able to go to this. One, if you want to see some of what was presented here, go to YouTube and look at some of what was presented at this Strong Towns meeting. Very, very informative. They have a lot of podcasts that you can go to and a lot of good information. But, you know, when we have our retreat, I'd even like to have a few minutes to share some of the information that I got there. One of the things, just at the very first of the meeting, it just caught me, just almost deafened me there, is when there's a street there and it has a slide and it says if you have a yellow blinking sign there that says slow down, you have an engineering problem. And it reminded me so much of where Martin Luther King, we just got through redoing it, and if you got a yellow blinking sign that says slow down, you don't have a traffic problem, you have an engineering problem. And it really is. And it's not our community, it's every community where we make our streets too wide. And I'm so glad with what we're doing, looking at, and it's not our community, it's every community is looking at streets and how do we do. And that's where I'm glad we're looking at Main Street and looking at what we can do with our streets, at naturally slowing down traffic at our designs and what we're doing in the future. So there were so many good ideas. And it was sharing, and one, it was in Tulsa, so it was really close. I could not go because it's so close. And one, I appreciate Doug Walton from Muskogee County Health Department paid for the entry fee, so I appreciate that didn't cost the city anything, just cost me the way to go up there. So great information. I just wanted to share that information. Look forward to sharing that with other counselors of what I learned. But you can go to YouTube, look up Strong Towns, and it's something that I hope to get more involved with of what information they have to share. Good stuff.
Thank you, Wayne. Seeing no one else has signed up to speak, we're adjourned.